Mic check, mic check. How's it going, everybody? Happy Friday. It is Friday. It has been a week. Is this thing, am I losing hair already? I mean, I know I got some stuff going on. I don't know what's going on. We're just going to deal with that. It looks a little crazy. It's been a crazy day, sweating in the basement, getting the compound set up. I'm hoping the next show is going to have the backdrop and everything going. I'm excited. We got Jill in the house. Thanks for stopping out, Jill. Super excited for tonight's show. Get to share a project that I've been working on with you guys. We'll get more into that here in just a minute. Really frustrated. It's not showing me how many people are here. I always like to kind of watch the ticker, but that's fine. I know you guys out there. Appreciate everybody stopping out. All right, getting things kicked off here. Got to show some love to the folks who make this thing possible. Man, I feel like I'm moving all this into the basement. It's going to be something. We're going to see what happens. I almost did it before tonight's show. Decided against it because my wife gave me that. Are you sure? And anytime she does that, I know what's going to happen. Shout out to Higher Love, the folks in the UP who make things possible here at the POTcast. They also are a big sponsor of Let's Legalize Wisconsin, help out with flyers, all that kind of stuff. We're talking about a billboard right now. Really excited to get some hype out there, and couldn't do it without them and their support. So much love to them. If you're in the UP, please make sure you check them out. We got the promo code above for you. Get you 15% off that first time you swing in. Also, if you're in Wisconsin and looking for product, highly recommend our friends over at Ignite Dispensary. Greatly appreciate what they do and the products they offer. We've got a promo code for you. I'm going to drop that into the comments. I can't put a link to their website because it has the D word in it, dispensary. Facebook does not like that. Here's the promo code in the comments. If you look up Ignite Dispensary, look for the same logo. That's folks you want to check out. Awesome products, top notch. If you're looking or around these areas, just stop it in person. You'll be able to get their full selection. This could be in the Milwaukee, Spooner, Hayward, Superior, Manitowoc, New Richmond areas. Send me flyers. You got it, Jill. I've also got some can koozies for you. Those just came in. So definitely get you a care package put together. Jill's been here since probably day one, maybe day two. And she's here all the time. So greatly appreciate you, Jill. All right. So we've got a couple events coming up. Jill, don't be afraid to send me a couple messages, though. With baby, moving baby room, all that stuff, I'm not making excuses. It's just been so chaotic. Just remind me on Monday morning if you could. Appreciate it. Day one, Jill says. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for swinging by. Please smash that like button, the share, whatever you can do to help us get out there. It's greatly appreciated. Our post is doing really good about tonight's topic. Been working on for some time. Looking over the different states that have legalized and putting together just a bill. There's got to be something out there. I really like Senator Agard's bill, but a lot of the Republicans haven't even looked at it. And I've thought about this for some time. Could this be a pipe dream? Absolutely. Is it most likely a pipe dream? Absolutely. But in my thinking, if we work on something together, okay, we the people, we vote, we get these people in office, and we just try to think of the main details, right? The main chunks of the cannabis regulation and taxing in the state of Wisconsin, do it fairly, us the people. And then let's start asking these politicians, what about this bill that we the people put together do you not care for? Let's start picking it apart. This whole left versus right, it just cannot be a left versus right thing. This has to be everybody working together. It's for the good of everybody. It's about educating everybody. It's about getting safe access to everybody. This is not a partisan issue, but currently in the state of Wisconsin, it is. So this is my effort to try to combat that. I'm hoping to, the awesome businesses and farmers out there in the state, let's get everybody endorsing this thing. Let's just work. We got to keep making noise. Whatever's happening at the state, I mean, right now they're out of session, so there's not a whole lot happening. Especially when it comes to legalization, but it's just silly. We're way behind. Let's get this thing rolling. So this was, and again, this bill doesn't touch everything. Some of it's on purpose. We got to work through this together. So wanted to share this with you guys. If you got a chance to check it out, awesome. We're going to be rolling through it here. Can I get rid of this thing on the left? I feel like we don't need that, but we'll deal with it. That's fine. Oh, it's going to be too big. Trying to make sure that it's probably going to be a pain for you guys to try to read on that small screen. So I apologize, but it'll be there for reference, and we'll go through it here. So essentially, again, you'll see here version 1.0. Obviously, this would be ideal. We'll see how things shake out. But I'm thinking if people have something they want to change, if we start seeing some comments, we put something out there, we pull it, and if 80% of us agree that we should change something, boom, let's change it. And is this thing perfect? I'm sure it's not. If you see something that doesn't make sense, let's work about it together. Waldo says LeMayu has said to me that it won't be legal here until it's federally legal. Sadly, I can believe that that's what we were told. And again, that just doesn't make any sense to me. When we look at the amount of people states who have figured out some form of legalization, like why are we suffering because they can't figure it out, right? Like it's just, I don't know. This is one of my ideas. Let's see what we come up with here and see how things look on this. So we've got the title. I came up with the People of Wisconsin's Cannabis Regulation and Taxation Act. A lot of disclaimers because I don't want somebody thinking this is law and then they get pulled over and they say, say that let's legalize Wisconsin guy. He says legal. Like this is not a legitimate piece of legislation. This is the draft of a bill. And let's dive into it here. So we've got the purpose to legalize and regulate the production of, well, let me bring this over here on my screen so I'm not looking away from you guys as much. It hurts my neck too. It's not good. All right. To legalize and regulate the production, distribution, and I can't say that probably on Facebook, and the sale of cannabis for adult responsible use and medical use in Wisconsin. This act aims to ensure public safety, generate tax revenue, reduce the burden on criminal justice system, promote social equity, support veterans, educate youth, protect workers, and foster environmental sustainability. This is what I would like to ask some of these people who are in office, because right now when I go and talk to them, a lot of them haven't looked at Agard's bill because they're Republican or it just doesn't make any sense. I want to be able to sit down and say, what part of this bill that we're working on, we the people are working on, what part of this do you not get? Or do you not support? Is it the reduce the burden on the criminal justice system? Is that what you don't like? Do you not like promoting social equity? Do you not like supporting veterans? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Again, this probably isn't going to just walk through and get signatures and become a thing, but we need to make noise because this is at least some kind of a game plan. This is, well, it's kind of my thoughts, but it's through talking to you guys and looking at other states. Like this is all of us. If there's something that's Bob, what the hell did you pull? Like this is a us thing. This is not a me thing. I don't know. I don't know what else to do. It shouldn't have to be. We have to come in with a lobbying group with $200 million to get this thing pushed through to change enough minds. And maybe that's what we're going to have to do. But I just have a hard time when I feel this strongly about something. I have a very hard time just sitting back and be like, oh, nothing we can do. So I'm going to keep beating my drum. Hopefully you guys stay with me. I know it's been a minute here since we've really talked about a game plan. I unfortunately do have ADHD and I think of a million things. And I sometimes go down the rabbit hole. And then I'm like, oh, shit, there's a mountain behind me yet that I didn't touch. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. We need to have something, a plan on paper. This is the plan on paper. It's taking a minute. Let's see where we're at. Oh, shit, sorry. I wasn't watching comments because I'm on a ramp here. Dawn says, Bobby, this is as far as we got with a similar effort in Brown County a few years ago. Maybe you can use some of it. Awesome. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Jill says they are crazy, right? Elron says agreed. Jill says it shouldn't be this hard, right? Like again, if this was something only 20% of us believed in, okay, I can see that being difficult. But when the majority of people get it, what don't they get? Why can't we figure this out? It doesn't have to be this difficult. And I don't want to just hear, well, my boss says we can't do anything with recreational use. Why? What part of this is not fair to the people of Wisconsin? Senator, whoever, talker this, representative that. And again, this might not work. I'm trying it though, because I don't know what else to do. It's just silly. Dawn, if you don't mind sending me that in a message too, I'll try to remember to hop back in here to grab that. But for some reason, when I do that with Facebook, comments get all out of whack. And I swear sometimes I can only see like a quarter of them. I don't like how Facebook does that. So, all right. So there was the purpose of this bill. The definition, cannabis, all parts of the plant cannabis. This is for I thought about, well, do we break it up into hemp? For right now, let's just get this thing rolling. Let's get some people's input, that kind of thing. I wasn't going to add in a whole nother hemp thing. So for right now, cannabis, all parts of the cannabis plant, because there's this whole THCA. We can figure that out whenever we get there. But for right now, the whole plant, whether growing or not, the seeds thereof. And see, this is where it gets crazy, because when they wrote the Farm Bill, I'm sure they thought they covered every aspect of the plant of CBD, but then all these other things. This is a start, right? This is what I don't know. Looking at other states, pick and choosing part, trying to make sense of it. Here's what we got. All parts of the plant, cannabis sativa L, whether growing or not, the seeds thereof, the resin extracted from any part of the plant. You see that a lot in the other states' bills. And every compound, manufacturer, salt, derivative, mixture, or preparation of the plant, its seeds, or resin. There's just a lot of loopholes out there. I'm sure this will be exploited sometime, but let's cover as much as we can just to get this covering the general aspect of cannabis. Randy, what's up, buddy? We're going deep tonight, Randy. This is the bill we've been working on. So, medical cannabis used for medical purposes by patients with qualifying medical conditions, right? And then adult responsible use, cannabis used by individuals age 21 and older. Legalization provisions, you see this a lot. Obviously, you want to have age restriction, legalization of cannabis for adult responsible use for individuals age 21 and older. Medical use, legalization of cannabis for medical use with a recommendation from a licensed healthcare provider. And then possession limits. This is just where I, looking at averages and kind of throwing the dart at the board. This is where it seemed to make the most sense in my opinion. Where was it? There's a lot of text over here, and I'm worked up. I'm worked up, boys, girls, men of all ages, whoever's out there. Adults age 21 and over may possess up to 1 ounce of cannabis in public and up to 5 ounces at home. Medical patients may possess higher quantities as prescribed. I really started going into, like, if you're growing, there's got to be a subset for if you're growing, that's got to be different, okay? But when I started, I had to take some stuff out because I was like, this is way too, I was hyper-focused in some areas, and let's discuss this together, right? Like, but it just makes sense. If you're growing, those numbers have to be different. They have to. Medical patients may possess higher quantities as prescribed, and it would be like similar to growers. Growers can have more than prescribed. Regulatory authority or licensing and regulation. We got some stuff on here. Hold on real quick. Tandy's in here. What's up, Prez? 12 plants, 6 in starting and 6 mature. That's good. I also, you'll see when we get there, I put 18 because 6 for when things go wrong, because especially for first-time growers, second-time growers, and third-time growers, you can go check them plants. One day they look great, and the next day they are gone. They're dead. They're hermaphrodites. It's crazy. Josh says, if I'm not pulling pounds off plants, what's the use? That's fair. But it is much harder than one would think. But I definitely get what you're saying. Let's do this. Tired of driving to Michigan, says Jason. Let's go, baby. Alex is in the house. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate you. 18 isn't bad either. Okay, so let's get to licensing and regulation. Regulatory authority. There has to be some kind of this sounded the most legit that I could come up with. Establish a Wisconsin Cannabis Control Commission. I just like the WCCC, like the WCCC, kind of like WWF. I don't know. It worked for me. Thought it was a great acronym, so I stuck it out there. Again, there's probably a better one out there, but let's talk about it. That's just my ADD brain. To oversee the implementation and regulation of cannabis laws, there has to be a group, and it can't just be politicians, because then it's all about who's donating what to where and what my boss said. That, like, it's got to make sense. We got to work it together. Jason says, I tried to show more support on my radio show, but no one got back to me my message. I'll have to check that out, Jason. If you can send one to the Facebook Messenger, I did. We had a whoopsie moment last week. Cell phone, don't want to. Yeah, hit up this page if you would, bud. Jill says, not everyone can get a pound off their plant. This is true. So let's get into licensing types. Cultivation licenses, small scale, large scale. Processing licenses, retail licenses, medical dispensary license, and testing laboratory licenses. As far as the application process, detailed application process, obviously, including background checks, financial disclosures, and operational plans. Then we've got compliance and inspections, regular inspections and compliance checks by the WCCC. And we see this in a lot of states right now that are going through and checking products and stuff. That's how you catch stuff that, has issues. You always got to have some checks and balances. Do we have to check everything 1,000 times? Probably not. But do we just hope people are doing and growing and making things in the best interests of the people? Yeah, we hope that, but we can't just sit back and, oh yeah, they said it's safe. It's got to be safe. Especially when we're talking businesses, we're talking, some chunks of change, making product and that. There needs to be checks and balances. They got to make sense. Let's talk to the people who are doing it now. Let's look at some of our neighboring states who are doing it. What's working for them, what's not. Let's talk to some of our hemp processors across the state of Wisconsin, our hemp farmers. What's working for them in the hemp industry? What would they like to see? Let's work together. Let's figure this out. Jill, I'll look for that on Ohio. Gardening can be fun and it isn't really that hard, right? I agree. Well, once you get the hang of it. Application process we touched on. All right, so now we get to cultivation and production. I don't think any other state was at 18, but again, I don't think people remember how difficult it can be, or even, you get bugs, or who knows, your pH ends up way off and you can't save it. Like, that would suck to just have to be out. So I put it at 18. And again, if we sit down with a representative or a senator or whatever, and they say, well, that's way too many. Okay, whoever, what's fair to you? Here's what we, the people, and let's talk about it. And then I'll bring it back to you guys. Here's what they said, right? Like, why can't we just discuss this? So we're not asking for 1,000 plants for home cultivation. I mean, we shouldn't even have to, but you know what I mean? Commercial cultivation, establish guidelines for commercial cultivation, including environmental standards, security measures, and product tracking systems. All pretty standard. And you see the checks and balances that are out there right now in some of the legal states with that. Environmental sustainability, implement mandatory sustainable practices for commercial cultivators, including water conservation, waste management, and renewable energy use. Again, what is all this? Where does it end up? I don't know, but I just know it's something we probably want to think about. And again, this committee, this group of people, like, this needs to be discussed, right? That's just kind of common sense. Distribution and sales. We got retail outlets, licensing of retail outlets where cannabis can be sold. So your dispensaries for the most part. Outlets must adhere to zoning laws and be a certain distance from schools and playgrounds. That always seems to pop up. Medical dispensaries, separate licenses for medical dispensaries, which provide cannabis to patients with a medical recommendation. Consumer protection, establish standards for product quality, safety testing, and accurate labeling to protect consumers. Delivery services, include regulations for cannabis delivery services to increase accessibility. Again, to me, these are the different ways that I can think of that we should be covering. I'm sure there's some more out there, and if you think of anything, let me know. Let's talk about it. Excess tax. I mean, if we look at Michigan, I feel like they're the most fair, and I think you can really see with the influx of how many dispensaries there are. I mean, you go to dispensaries, especially on the border, which makes sense because Wisconsin's so far behind the times, that when you got the price fair, and I mean, the amount of people you can have there, right? So I think keeping that tax lower, 10% for adult responsible use, 5% for medical. Also, maybe medical, there shouldn't be any sales tax. I think it would really come into play if there's anything in here about a gentleman earlier today, Dustin, with the USDA. He was saying, and this makes sense too, that do we write something in there about medical can only be 15% over wholesale or something like that? So we can work on the details of that, but it should be less than recreational use. I think we can all agree on that. Tax revenue allocation, and looking at some other states, and also looking at Senator Agar's kind of similar-ish. 50% to local communities where cannabis businesses operate, 15% to public education and health programs, 15% to the state's general fund, 10% to fund the operations of the WCCC, and 10% to substance abuse treatment and prevention programs. Obviously, one of the big things with cannabis is public safety and education. So touching on that, we got public awareness campaigns. I think that's huge. Fund and conduct public education campaigns on the responsible use of cannabis, its effects, and the risks associated with impaired driving. We've also got youth education programs. You're starting to see these roll out. Allocate funds specifically for youth education programs about the risks of cannabis use. Um, Favorite flower MKE says we need farm to consumer direct sellability. I think that would make sense as well. We need farm to consumer direct sellability. I think that, especially when we look at like the farmers market, then I think that would be huge. Josh says September 14th, Legacy Cup, Minnesota Cannabis Cup is going down. $4.20 a ticket. Y'all should come check it out. They are figuring it out slowly but surely, and so can we. That's awesome. September 14th. That's dope. Yes, we can definitely figure it out. So that's where the programs that for public safety and education. When it comes to social equity provisions, we got equity programs, established programs to assist communities disproportionately affected by past cannabis prohibition. This is where like the 50% to local communities where cannabis businesses operate. I think the majority of that, you try to get that back to communities that have been hurt the most by this. Priority licensing allow a certain percentage of licenses to individuals from communities impacted by prohibition into small farmers. When we look at these kinds of things, I don't know, they're all over the board when you look at other states and how they rolled it out. So especially for like this part, I would love to get those communities involved in what these numbers look like. So as opposed to, we have Agard's bill and then we had Robin Voss's bill, and it's just that number's in there, that number's in there. I would like to have it be like a public forum, like, hey, where are we thinking on this? What do we do? So again, a think tank to work out those numbers. I think you also got to have some support for the small farmers, provide grants and low interest loans to small farmers and individuals from impacted communities to enter the cannabis market. Training and development, offer business development and technical training programs for individuals from disproportionately impacted communities and small farmers. Obviously, we got to have expungement and legal support. You got to work on funding the legal aid programs to assist the expungement of criminal records for past cannabis-related offenses. And then also, we've got community reinvestment. Ensure funds are allocated to community programs that support education, job training, and healthcare services in areas most impacted by cannabis prohibition. Favorite Flower MKE says we need to keep licensing to state residents. This will help keep out the huge corporations that will surely ruin the market. That would make sense. We've got, I'm sorry, my screen glitched. Oh, yeah, it's still on your guys' screen, so we're good there. We've got compliance and enforcement. Enforcement measures define penalties for non-compliance with the new cannabis laws, including unlicensed sales, sales to minors, and diversion to illegal markets. We obviously got to have support for law enforcement. We got to provide resources and training to law enforcement to effectively manage the new legal landscape. And then gun owner security, we got to figure out a way to ensure that legal cannabis does not impact the right to own firearms, aligning with federal protections. That is I don't know a lot of states that have figured that out, but it needs to be discussed and we need to be transparent about it. We can't just say, oh, here's a medical program, and then people sign up for the medical program and don't realize they could be on a list, and then they might not be. Let's discuss what's going to happen with firearms. We need to figure that out. Obviously, if you're not under the influence, you should be able to still own a firearm. That kind of just makes sense to me. Who knows? People need to remember, says Jim. Yeah, people should remember. Then we got monitoring and reporting. Data collection obviously is needed. The WCC will collect data on economic, health, and social impacts of cannabis legalization. Obviously, we got to have annual reports. That would be the WCCC that will submit annual reports to the state legislator and the public on the implementation and effects of cannabis legalization. And then stakeholder involvement. I think we got to have a diverse group of stakeholders, including public health experts, community leaders, and industry representatives in the regulatory process to ensure balanced and effective policies. I don't think we should just have a bill that comes in from a side of the aisle and that's kind of what we're stuck with type situation. Let's talk to some folks who are out there in this thing, some folks who are the health experts on this thing, community leaders. Let's work together. Why can't we work together and get this through? This should not be such a divided topic. Excuse me. Then additional provisions. You saw a lot of people that would go back or add things. These were just two things I didn't know where to put, essentially, in our case. Veteran access. I think you got to provide specific provisions to ensure veterans have access to medical cannabis and support programs, including reduced costs and expedited licensing processes. To me, that just makes sense. You know, uh, the people who allow us to even talk about this stuff openly, you know, to have some freedoms, even though a lot of things are crazy out there in the world. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. Like we got to take care of people that take care of us. And then workplace protections, and that's also some things that some bills out there don't have anything in there about that. I think we need to be transparent about and figure out how people who use cannabis can still, you know, you can't just say, oh, you're a cannabis user, you don't get what you were supposed to get otherwise because you use cannabis. That's derogatory in and of itself, and it doesn't make sense, especially for medical purposes. But even if I'm a law-abiding citizen, I should be able to enjoy some recreational cannabis and still be treated the same as other people. It's common sense. Um, so yeah, workplace protections, strengthen workplace protections for cannabis users, ensuring that, I think I read that already. Ensuring non-discrimination for legal use during non-working hours and protection of employment rights. Obviously, something can be said for if you're high and trying to drive a forklift, like that's what a lot of people like to throw out there on the opposing side, that kind of stuff. You know, again, we're trying to be fair. So here's what we kind of came up with. Looks like the post is doing really well. We had a lot of visits to this to the bill. It's actually pretty neat here. If you click on one of these things too, it takes you right to it. That took me a while to figure out. So, like if you want to check on taxation, you can just click that. It takes you right to it. Thought that was slick. Felt really guru-y with technology when I figured that out. So watch out, folks. I'm getting guru-y with technology. Jim says the government gets their powers from the consent of the governed. That's us. When the government becomes destructive and ignores the people, it's your right and your duty to alter or abolish our government. Our government doesn't give a damn what we say, what we think, or how we vote. Our government does what they want to do, not what the people want to do. This has become a destructive government or communism. It does feel that way 100%. And cannabis is just one of the many topics where it's mind-boggling to me. Don says we need to protect access to dispensaries, not let counties or municipalities ban them. Also ensure access to delivery services. I agree. I think that is a great point. If you could, if you guys had some comments, if you could try to put it on the post about the bill, that one's a little, again, for whatever reason, the comments on here, as soon as I end the live, I can't just scroll through them. It's really goofy when you try to look at a past live video. So if you don't mind, if you could hop over to that post or even on the page, there's a little comment section at the end of it after the bill on the website. So this is just one of the things that we were rolling out. I got a couple exciting things coming up next week as far as we got to kind of watch how we say some things because we're still not a 501c. That class was this morning. 501c. No, 501c. There's so many numbers involved with that. So, you know, I can't say vote for this guy, don't vote for that guy, but please make sure you check out Jay's website, the WithScan, as far as make sure you know who you're voting for and, you know, what their stances are on important topics. Obviously, cannabis isn't the only one, but if they're being completely ignorant about cannabis, I mean, that tells you a lot about, you know, who you're voting for, and it's going to be running, and we got the primary coming up. So that is on the 13th. So going to try to get some information to you folks through the page without getting flagged by either party saying that we're trying to push one party over the other, trying to stick around. We don't want to get canceled out. It's just crazy out there, folks. So especially while they are shut down at the government level here in Wisconsin, I think we, the people, just need to keep working together and making some noise. So I feel like this is a good step in the right direction. Again, this is a us thing. And what we got here? Dawn says, please remember, before electricity, when we sent a rep to Washington, we didn't talk much after that. I can imagine. That's a great point. Jim says, what you just read in my post is in our Constitution. People need to read our Constitution and be more informed. I agree with that, Jim. I did not know that that was in there, to be honest with you. Something just doesn't seem right. So that's what brought me here. It makes sense when you bring that out in that comment. And, we the people, we got to stick together. We put those people in power. We got to hold them accountable. So let's see what we can figure out, folks. Thank you for joining the show. Thank you for checking out the bill beforehand if you did, or bringing your comments and whatnot. Please make sure you get those on the post. Greatly appreciate it. Let's keep. We're raring up. We're just getting started. I think this is a big step because again, we're not just these people that want to get high. We're trying to figure shit out. We're trying to work together. That's what we wanted you to do when we elected you. Here's what we came up with. What's your take? What's your problem? What's your beef with it? What don't you like about it? Why can't you support this? Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's figure it out, and let's take back control of our rights. It's crazy. We're not going to be the last state to legalize. That's my goal. I would like to say we're going to be the next, but we're not even in session, so I don't know that that's how that works. Also looking into, is this something we can bring to the Wisconsin Supreme Court? Is this something we can bring to Ledge Council? I'm open to any and all people who understand that stuff. I'm taking classes, trying to learn more stuff. We just got to keep making noise. Something's going to give. It has to. We have strength in numbers, and we're united on this front. So, Joe, don't say that. We're gonna do our darndest to not be the last state. Wisconsin can't be that bad. I still can't believe Ohio beat us Tuesday. They're going legal. So shout out to them. They're legal. They're going live with their rec sales. So. All right. Well, hey, thank you everybody for coming out. Sorry, I was a little rambling. I was really excited to share this, so I definitely kind of went fast, but appreciate you guys joining. Hopefully on Monday I'll be coming to you live from, I'm going to call it like the compound or something in the basement. It's going to be pretty dope. Finally got the neon sign with the logo. It should be right here. It's going to look dope. It's going to catch some more people when they're scrolling through so that they can get in here and get in on this legalization effort. We're going to do this. So don't ask for your rights. Take them. Hey. I like that. I like that, Jim. You bring up a valid point. Don't ask for your rights. Take them. Well, all right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining another episode of the podcast. We'll be back at it Monday. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Whew, I'm hyped and I'm ready to go. I ain't going to sleep tonight. I appreciate you guys. Seriously. I love you guys like a family. I mean that. We're going to figure this out. We have to. We have to. It has to. It has to make sense. All right, everybody. I'm going to quit yapping. Have a great weekend. Bobby Beans, we're out of here, folks.